If the internet has taught us anything, it's this. When something becomes a meme, there's a damn good reason. And Netflix, well, they're just the poster child for this rule. Their adaptations have been a goldmine for jokes over the years, thanks to their unique approach to source material. Let's call it alternative, or just objectively wrong. We've got anime to movie crimes like Death Note, one of the dumbest adaptations ever conceived, Cowboy Bebop, rest in peace, Avatar: The Last Airbender, yes, technically not an anime, but still butchered, and even Bleach. Why? But lately, Netflix has a new obsession, turning video games into animated content. And boy are they failing spectacularly. Let's be real, video game adaptations are cursed. For decades, studios either crapped out boring cash grabs banking on fan nostalgia or created outright abominations that made us question humanity's worth. Sure, Sonic and Mario are exceptions, but they're like finding a diamond on a pile of shit. Most adaptations fail harder than a Dark Souls no-hit run. So hey, maybe Netflix deserves some credit for trying this doomed experiment over and over. That takes guts or a tremendous lack of self-awareness. Could go either way. In the last few years, we've seen several animations based on different video game franchises being released by the streaming service, and besides the massive success of Cyberpunk Edge Runners, partially responsible for the resurrection of Cyberpunk as a game because of how good it was, the situation is ugly. Since 2023, they released Castlevania Nocturne, the less interesting Castlevania animation in which the French Revolution is painted as a great fight for the freedom of the people against the evil forces of vampires, the aristocracy, and the church, the most unpredictable plot of all time. Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft, in which Lara is reduced to a brute and potentially lesbian boxer, with almost none of the femininity and sophistication the character from the game has. And most recently, they decided it would be a good idea to adapt Devil May Cry into an animation as well. And holy shit, that was a mistake. I have to start by saying that although I'm somewhat familiar with Devil May Cry, I'm not a lore specialist or anything like that. Devil May Cry 3 was one of the games I liked the most back in the PlayStation 2 generation, and I also played Devil May Cry 5 quite a bit. But the story was never the focus for me while I played the games. My interest was limited to going for stylish combos and kicking demons' asses, the pure entertainment of the perfect hack and slash genre. The point here being, I'm not going to criticize the show for not being lore accurate because I don't know the lore that well at all. That said, you will see multiple people online doing exactly this. Apparently, the show really is a fanfic that substantially changes a lot of the things about the story and the world of Devil May Cry. So if you're a fan of the lore, this show might piss you off even more than it did me. But regardless of the accuracy of the lore, this animation has several problems that are expected of Netflix adaptations. And the most evident really is the ideological motivation behind certain narrative decisions. For instance, demons here are actually refugees. Hell isn't really hell, it's just another dimension with its own problems, and most demons there are just normal, innocent citizens seeking a peaceful life. Sparta is the demon version of Donald Trump, who decided to build a wall to separate the human world from hell, aka Mexico, stopping any innocent demon from getting into the land of the free. The whole thing becomes a criticism of the American war on terror when the US invades hell and literally starts bombing everything, including the poor innocent demons who are merely citizens trying to live in peace, while American Idiot of all songs plays in the background. I'm telling you, dude, there's no subtlety here. Just like any story written for a modern audience, we need to have an over-the-top badass and needlessly annoying female lead who's better at what she does than anyone around her with no explanation whatsoever, and looks much less appealing than any of her iterations elsewhere. And I say she's the lead here on purpose. Very often, Lady feels more like the main character than Dante himself. She's able to beat him once and capture him not once, not twice, but 3 times in one season of the show. She's supposed to be merely a human, yes, capable of hunting demons, but here she's able to rival the half-demon son of Sparta, who moves at the speed of sound and is able to defeat entire armies of trained mercenaries and demons. She mostly acts like an asshole, being very unlikable for most of the show. It's even hard to connect with her and the tragedies of her past thanks to her personality. Besides, for the plot of the season, she's almost more relevant than Dante himself. Episode 6 doesn't even mention Dante, it's just about Lady and the Psycho Bunny. She's the one that has the connection with the villain of the season. The rabbit's goal is also to destroy Darkcom and all of the human demon hunters working for the government, especially Lady. She's essentially the main character in many circumstances. Speaking of the rabbit, since he's the psychopath of the show, he also happens to be a human, not a demon. Because of course he is. Most things about his character are not really explained, like how he had the intelligence or the resources to build a machine that locates and opens the cracks in Sparta's wall, how he built the demon blood pump device attached to his body, how he's that skilled as a fighter considering that for most of his life he was merely a normal human, trying to help the defenseless demons become illegal aliens in the human world. He truly embodies a lot of the problems the show has. He was using the demon refugees as lab rats, torturing them and making crazy experiments, turning them into soldiers to fight for his cause. And his justification is that he was forced to do that because their fate would be worse at the hands of humans. But truth be told, this is quite pathetic to say. All Darkcom and the Vice President did during the whole show was kill the demons in the quickest way possible. I didn't see any of them begging to be killed because they preferred that over the suffering at the hands of humans, but they did that when they were in the hands of the rabbit. The Vice President, of course, is presented as the stereotype of the Christian white male authority, basically a religious zealot who hates any demons, including the refugees, because nothing good can come from Christianity, obviously. He literally uses violence for everything, even when it's extremely unnecessary, ineffective, and costly, like hiring a massive group of mercenaries to go after Dante without even trying to talk to him first. He had enough intel to know who Dante is, where he lives, and his previous jobs, rather than just trying to hire him or something like that, you know, having a normal conversation before trying to resort to violence. He literally used all the resources he had, including the entire elite squad of Darkcom, to get Dante by force. The one thing I can say about this character is that he truly has the best line in the whole show. As soon as he finds out the lady is trying to rescue the refugees from the building the rabbit was keeping them in, he changes the officer's orders to exterminate all the demons inside. When the officer objects, saying that they are only refugees, my man literally says,
"And the idea of refugees from hell did not immediately strike you as contradictory?"
As soon as I heard that, I was like, yo, bro has a point. I'm not gonna lie, it does sound contradictory. Dante really is the best character in the show, and this is not even a compliment. His humor is very hit or miss. Some of his lines are moronic, making the jokes extremely cringe. His voice acting, like the other characters, is mostly fine, but I do think he was miscast. His pitch is higher than I expected. I would prefer if he sounded like Dante from DMC5, but he actually sounds way more like Nero. Oh, wait. Okay, that makes sense now. With that said, he has some moments. Some of the fights are interesting, and some of his interactions with other characters are pretty entertaining on screen. On the technical side, the animation is good, especially in some very dynamic scenes like fights and the skydiving scene in episode 4, but still not as good as other animations from Netflix like the Castlevania shows. Besides the fighting scenes of the last episode, no moment is truly striking because of how good the animation is. Also, the use of 3D is disappointing. Some of those moments are just ugly and feel completely unnecessary. The animation certainly is one of the strongest aspects of the show, even though it's not perfect. The one thing I actually enjoyed more than anything else was certainly the fact that it really is a R-rated animation. The violence is there, the swearing is there, a lot of what shows up on screen is raw, as we would expect for a universe like Devil May Cry, and it's very similar to what they did with Castlevania as well. As a visual experience, the show mostly works. If you don't care about the lore, you might even enjoy it. The direction of episode 6, for instance, was pretty good. Although it was an episode without Dante, they did manage to have great storytelling, interesting choices for the art direction of the animation, and good sound design. Technically, the show isn't bad. What really bothers me is that it's the type of show that could have been great, but it isn't. Netflix could create a much better Devil May Cry animation than this one, at least in the writing department, but they decided not to. And unfortunately for them, the writing is the soul of any show. In the end, the adaptation is nothing more than a decently animated slob created for modern audiences that apparently has very little to do with the story of the games. It really is a shame. Anyway, that's it for today. See you boys later.